What if I told you that buried beneath layers of earth, waiting silently for centuries, there exists an object that defies our most fundamental understanding of human history? An artifact so strange, so seemingly out of place, that historians, archaeologists, and philosophers alike have paused, puzzled, and debated its existence for decades. This is not a sensational story. It is not a myth or a legend. It is the account of a discovery that forces us to question what we think we know about human cognition, societal organization, and the way civilizations interpret the reality around them. Today, we explore the strangest object unearthed by historians, and why it matters not just as an isolated curiosity, but as a mirror reflecting the intricate, sometimes paradoxical structure of human history and the architecture of the mind. Imagine for a moment that history is not merely a linear collection of dates, wars, and rulers, but a vast, interconnected network of signals, each moment a pulse traveling through the collective consciousness of humanity. In this metaphorical network, our brains act as nodes processing, filtering, and responding to these signals, while societies behave like dynamic energy grids, amplifying certain patterns and damping others. And now, consider that this peculiar artifact, unearthed in a remote archaeological site, disrupts the very patterns we expect. Its form, function, and material composition challenge assumptions about technological capabilities, cognitive priorities, and even the social hierarchies of the time. The object, which we will refer to as the chrono relic, is a compact device no larger than a human fist. Yet its design suggests a level of abstract reasoning and multi-layered problem-solving previously unattributed to the culture that produced it. Its surface is engraved with geometric patterns that, at first glance, seem purely decorative, but under microscopic examination reveal a language of symbols arranged according to precise mathematical ratios. These ratios correlate not only with astronomical cycles, but also with fundamental neurological rhythms patterns that mimic the firing frequencies observed in modern human brains during problem-solving and creative insight. What does this imply? It implies that the creators of this object had an intuitive grasp of both external natural systems and internal cognitive processes. They were mapping the cosmos and the mind simultaneously, encoding knowledge in a medium that is as much philosophical as it is technological. The initial discovery occurred in a dig largely focused on mundane domestic artifacts, pottery shards, tools, and remnants of what seemed to be ordinary dwellings. Yet, beneath the soil, entwined in roots and mineral deposits, the chrono relic emerged as if intentionally hidden. The context of its burial suggests deliberate placement, a ritualistic concealment, or perhaps a protective measure, indicating that the object was understood to possess significance far beyond its apparent utility. What fascinates historians is not just the object's complexity, but its dissonance with the assumed capabilities of its society. Conventional archaeological narratives categorize civilizations according to technological progress, from basic stone tools to metallurgy, from writing systems to complex governance structures. The chrono relic refuses to fit neatly into this schema. It appears simultaneously primitive in material and sophisticated in conceptual design. Its existence prompts a profound question. Can we truly assess a civilization's intellectual depth solely through its visible infrastructure and surviving texts, or are we overlooking subtle cognitive achievements embedded in forms that resist easy classification? When we examine the chrono relic through a neurological lens, the parallels to human brain function are striking. The patterned engravings operate on principles analogous to synaptic networks. Each symbol represents a node of knowledge, while the connecting lines function as pathways for associative reasoning. Just as neurons strengthen their connections through repeated activation, the patterns on the object suggest iterative encoding knowledge designed to evolve with engagement. Could it be that the object itself was intended as a tool for collective cognitive expansion? Perhaps in its original context, interacting with the chrono relic was less about manipulating physical components and more about training perception, memory, and abstract reasoning. From a psychological perspective, this aligns with concepts of cognitive scaffolding, external structures or tools that augment mental capacities. In modern terms, it is akin to how a notepad extends working memory or how a graph visualizes complex data to facilitate comprehension. The chrono relic may have served as an early interface between mind and environment, guiding individuals and communities toward higher-order patterns of understanding. enhancing the society's ability to adapt to environmental challenges, social complexity, and unforeseen crises. Yet there is more. The patterns on the object are not purely mathematical. They encode sequences that correspond to human circadian and ultradian rhythms, subtle cycles of attention, fatigue, and creativity. This implies a deliberate synchronization between external learning structures and the internal temporal dynamics of the human brain. In essence, the object is not just a static artifact, but a temporal instrument, designed to interface with the mind over time. Historians are forced to confront a philosophical dilemma. If a society can encode cognitive rhythms and cosmological knowledge in a small, portable object, what does this tell us about the assumptions underlying our historical models? Are our current frameworks too linear, too rigid, too focused on observable infrastructure and written records to detect the subtleties of intellectual and cultural sophistication? Here, the chrono relic becomes a metaphor for the limitations of perception itself. Just as neurons can misfire or sensory inputs can be misinterpreted, our historical interpretations are bounded by cognitive biases, disciplinary blind spots, and the selective survival of evidence. The object challenges us to reconsider the ways in which knowledge can be transmitted, hidden, and preserved. It also invites reflection on collective behavior and social adaptation. Societies function as distributed systems of information processing. Norms, rituals, and artifacts operate as regulatory mechanisms that stabilize energy flow within the social network. The deliberate concealment of the chrono relic may have been a form of societal calibration, a way to protect a fragile signal from being lost amidst environmental turbulence or human conflict. In this light, what appears as secrecy or mystery is actually a sophisticated form of risk management, a historical analog to modern concepts of redundancy and resilience in complex systems. When we explore the paradoxical aspects of the chrono relic, another layer emerges. Its design anticipates cognitive limitations. It's symbolic. Language encodes knowledge in a manner that is accessible but requires interpretive effort, mirroring the way stress and challenge optimize neural plasticity. In other words, the creators may have understood that human learning and societal evolution are enhanced not through simplicity, but through engagement with complexity. By presenting knowledge in a structured yet enigmatic form, the object encourages active participation, reflection, and adaptation. There is a profound lesson here for contemporary society. We often perceive complexity as a threat, a cognitive load to be minimized. Yet, the chrono relic demonstrates that complexity can be protective, adaptive, and even nurturing. What seems obscure or difficult at first glance may be precisely what allows a system, whether neural or social, to develop resilience, creativity, and long-term stability. Consider, too, the temporal implications. The object encodes cycles of celestial movement alongside cognitive rhythms. It bridges the external universe and internal perception, reminding us that human understanding is always situated between the macrocosm and the microcosm. History, in this sense, is not just the study of past events. It is an exploration of temporal alignment, the interplay between events, perception, and adaptive intelligence across generations. The chrono relic also forces us to confront the role of perception in defining reality. Our interpretation of historical artifacts is filtered through cognitive frameworks, shaped by culture, education, and expectation. The object's enigmatic nature exposes the limits of perception. What we see and comprehend is always partial, contingent, and mediated. In examining this artifact, historians engage in a cognitive exercise akin to pattern recognition within a network of incomplete signals. Each hypothesis, each analytical approach, is a node connecting evidence to understanding, yet always constrained by gaps and ambiguities. From a neurophilosophical standpoint, this underscores a deep truth. The mind and society are recursive systems, constantly generating signals, interpreting feedback, and adjusting behaviors. The chrono relic is not merely an artifact of a bygone civilization. It is a representation of the recursive, adaptive nature of intelligence itself. It embodies the principle that knowledge is never fixed, but emergent, shaped by interaction, engagement, and temporal context. Perhaps the most counterintuitive insight emerges when we consider the object's protective concealment. At first, one might see secrecy as weakness, the hiding of knowledge as a failure to communicate. Yet, when examined through a system's perspective, concealment is a form of strategic preservation. By shielding critical information from misuse or environmental disruption, the society ensured continuity, stability, and selective transmission. What appears as opacity or mystery is actually a sophisticated adaptation, a reflection of the interplay between vulnerability and resilience. This is the twist. What seems to signal limitation may, in fact, reveal profound strength. The chrono relic in all its enigmatic glory illustrates that human societies have long possessed the capacity for metacognition, thinking about thinking, and meta-organization structuring complexity to enhance survival. It embodies the paradox that intelligence and adaptation are often hidden, indirect, and counterintuitive. What lessons, then, can we draw? Perhaps the most important is a philosophical one. That history is not a mere archive of facts, but a network of emergent signals where every artifact, ritual, and document carries potential insight into the dynamics of human cognition and social organization. Each discovery, no matter how perplexing, invites us to reconsider assumptions, expand conceptual frameworks, and reflect on the subtle interplay between knowledge, perception, and adaptation. The chrono relic reminds us that human intelligence is not linear, that progress is not always tangible, and that the most profound insights may be encoded in forms that initially appear opaque, paradoxical, or even irrational. Its existence challenges us to embrace complexity, to seek patterns across scales, and to recognize that the architecture of history is entwined with the architecture of the mind. As we conclude this exploration, let us consider a final, open-ended question. What other signals lie hidden beneath the surface of history, awaiting discovery, misinterpreted, or lost to time? How many of our assumptions about human capability, cognition, and societal organization are artifacts of perception, constrained by incomplete evidence and disciplinary frameworks? The chrono relic is a reminder that history, like the brain, is a dynamic, emergent system. It invites us to engage with ambiguity, to cultivate patience, and to recognize the beauty of adaptive intelligence expressed through form, pattern, and subtlety. If this journey into the strange and profound corners of human history has sparked your curiosity, reflect on the artifact not as an isolated anomaly, but as an invitation to question, explore, and marvel at the depth of human ingenuity. History is alive, pulsating with signals across time, each moment offering lessons in resilience, adaptation, and perception. Consider sharing your thoughts on what the chrono relic might represent in the broader context of civilization, cognition, and societal evolution. Join the conversation because history is not just observed, it is interpreted, discussed, and understood collectively. If this exploration has expanded your perspective, give this video a like, share it with fellow seekers of knowledge, and subscribe to Past Lens to journey further into the enigmatic, the fascinating, and the profound narratives that history quietly encodes for those willing to see, think, and reflect. The past is not only a story of what was, it is a mirror for understanding what we are capable of becoming.